Hello. Just testing.
Your video. Can you hear us, Lee?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, you're very quiet. I don't know if that's like saying on your end.
Do you not have a work mic? How does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the state statute. District is under. People, whereas people talk kind of.
So when I was in.
Yeah.
It was, there's quiet.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, there's a couple ways to do something.
Lee, can you say something to us again?
I certainly can. What would you
Whoever's left.
care for me to expound upon?
The salmon and the cabins.
It looks
What's
like
that?
it.
Looks like it.
I'm hearing you guys fine. Although there's a lot of noise, people at once.
Yeah.
Who's in house today?
We can't hear you, Lee, we're on the sound on our end.
Oh, Justin, can you give, and can you mute your?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna tell you.
Okay,
Sure.
we
We can't mute because we're not doing it. We're not gonna be muted.
I'm looking at participants, I can see here.
Oh, no, we have.
Hey, Trevor, can you say something to us so we can figure out if our audio problem is Lee's microphone or our speakers?
Who do you want to speak?
Yeah, I'm happy to chat.
Oh, there's
Coming
Fletcher.
through.
Okay,
Actually difficult.
The microphone tab up, does that have a speaker option? Select a speaker. Yeah, maybe just try the next one.
The LGT, how about that?
That'll be bad.
Oh, do it. Good.
Lee, can you say something again?
Sorry, heard my name.
There we go. Yeah, that's not happening. We use what we're typically using. We're only hearing out of those. So it seems like something's wrong with those speakers.
We'll see how this happens.
Use under test. Yeah, can you please say something else?
Sure.
Okay.
Are we ready to roll?
I think so. Are we?
I haven't gotten a recording notification yet. Boy, that AI knows the cue when it hears one, doesn't it? Okay, I see we have a few more people coming in, but we're ready to go, guys.
we're ready to go.
Okay, good deal. Well, good morning, everybody. The Thursday, February 12th, 19, Lord mercy, 2026 meeting of the San Miguel County Planning Commission is hereby called to order. As a matter of meeting information, which is the first item that you guys have already gone past with the site visit, but now that we're called to order, I thought I would ask our new member, Fletcher Otwell, to give us a little introduction of yourself.
Great. Thanks, Lee. Good morning. And apologies that I can't be there in person. This was a plane ticket I already had booked to celebrate my mom's 75th, sitting in
Cool.
Palm Springs, California this morning.
Oh,
So happy to just kind of be a fly on the wall and pay attention. For those of you who may not know me, I live in Placerville. I'm a recovering engineer turned heat pump installer and built our own house in the Placerville town site, following the land use code closely, and just eager to serve my community in the way that works well for me and everyone else, I hope. So I'm mostly going to keep my microphone off, but happy to weigh in if anyone has questions of me.
okay. Thanks. Welcome aboard. And for the rest of the crew, Fletcher will be taking Robin's seat, alternate seat. Robin had to withdraw because of her work schedule and expected time away. So first item of business is the review and correction or approval of the minutes. Anyone have any comments on the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented. I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded, and that sounded like Jocelyn and Hallie in that order. Is that right?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, moved and seconded. Hallie?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Joss?
Aye.
Ian?
Aye.
Is Matt there?
Yep.
Hey, Matt. And you're voting aye?
I am.
And so am I. Okay. Minutes are approved as presented. Staff?
So yeah, as noted, Robin's seat was up and she did not reapply due to her scheduling. Fletcher was appointed as junior alternate, but now because we have the vacancy at senior alternate, he automatically moves up to that. So if you know of anybody that is interested in serving, we are looking for another member of the planning commission. And then also we have 2 vacancies on the board of adjustments. They meet maybe once a year, but it's still an important seat. So if you know of anybody that would like to serve very frequently, that option is there as well. We'll talk about upcoming schedules and everything at the end of the meeting. And then I want to recognize that Lee has been on the planning commission now for 20 years.
Wow.
You were originally appointed in late January of 2006. So this is probably your 20-year meeting, and if you're here, we celebrate more.
Well, next month.
Yeah.
Of course, I was 12 when I was first appointed, right?
Of course. Yeah, most of the stuff that I need to talk about is on the scheduled discussion. So
Okay.
I think with that, we'll just move on.
All right, we'll roll to that. How'd the sidewalk go? Any surprises?
We learned a lot.
It was well attended. Lots of folks there.
A little bit icy.
Okay.
Lots of folks there don't all appear to be here. Do we know who the iPhone person is?
I don't.
We'll find out.
Alex Rollison. And then there's another iPhone person. Oh, I see, with a hand up. Yeah, we would generally get into public comment when we're talking about a specific application, which is the next item up.
Only if they speak.
Right. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a substantial PUD amendment to add square footage to the maximum allowable footprint of lot 31413 Elk Meadows in Lawson Hill. So who's up? John? Nicola?
Alrighty, thank you, commissioners. So as Lee just said, this is a substantial PUD amendment, which means that there's going to be 2 steps, first to you all and then to the VOCC to add square footage to the maximum allowed footprint, lot 314-13 Elk Meadows in the Lawson Hill PUD. So the application was submitted by Celia White's father, Kathy White, who's also her general contractor. The owner is Celia White and Tanner Small. It is located in the Lawson Hill PUD, as you all just saw, zoned affordable housing PUD, and the proposal is to increase the maximum allowed footprint from 612 square feet to 1,200 square feet, with 200 square feet of that exclusively reserved for a deck. And this is 2 steps. So here's the vicinity map. It's at the very top of Lawson Hill, down that slippery road. Here is the lot with an aerial view. And then here is that proposed footprint. It's not super clear in this photo, but just kind of showing what the original 612 would have looked like, and then the larger footprint with that deck on there. So the applicant's main reason for asking for this variance is because they have a 1,500 square foot maximum buildable area. So in order to achieve that with a 612 foot footprint, they would have to build a sort of narrow, tall 3-story house, and they would much rather have an open floor plan for their family. The lot will be required to have a 20-foot parking for 2 parking spots, and it will need to conform to the setbacks listed on the plat, as well as 20-foot setback to the nearest structures. So this application is going to be reviewed by the standards for substantial PUD amendments and rezoning, that it needs to meet the standards of the comprehensive development plan, compatible with the surrounding land uses, neighborhood characteristics, community character. It wouldn't result in unsupported demands on public facilities or have adverse impacts on the neighborhood, natural environment, or be in conflict with public interest. So the review body should consider whether the surrounding neighborhood supports the proposed amendment and if it affects traffic and road safety. So this application was referred to the county manager, deputy county manager, county attorney, the building official, in the Lawson Hill Property Owners Company. We did receive an approval letter from the Lawson Hill Property Owners Company on November 11th, 2025. And public notice was published. The agenda for this meeting was published last week, and then the applicant did complete the mailing to everybody within 500 feet, as well as posting a sign on the property. And we did not receive any public comments, but it seems like we may get some today. And here is your sample motion approving the increase in the footprint with the conditions that all written representations of the applicant are conditions of this approval, and that 200 square feet of the 1,200 square foot footprint shall be exclusively used for a deck, and the applicant shall obtain a development permit from the county prior to commencing construction. Please ask any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Well, now that the item is fully on the table, let's take a pause here and offer if anyone has any concerns about any conflicts of interest. I will state for the record that I am a resident of Lawson Hill and probably 12 doors down from the site, but I believe I can adjudicate this in fairness, and I don't believe I have any conflicts. Anyone else?
Mr. Bewley, you were outside the mail notification area, correct? You didn't see.
Yes, I was. Mhm. Yeah, I did not receive a notice, so I was outside that.
Thank you.
Anna Small is my son's teacher and cross-country coach, but I don't have any conflict of interest.
I'll say I know absolutely everyone in the vicinity, I think. Ms. White has been a counselor for my daughter at the school. I'm close family friends with a neighbor across the street. My kids go to school with 2 different neighbors' kids, and Dr. Grady is my dentist. Given that I know pretty much all of the players, I'm pretty sure I can keep it very unbiased.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Commissioners, questions about the application?
How many times has this app been made before?
Within the Lawson Hill
Yeah,
PD.
within Boston.
Well, not since I've been here in the past 3 years. I don't think, I mean, potentially, I don't know. I don't think very many times. I think there was another house in the neighborhood who had looked into asking for a substantial PUD amendment to expand their deck, and they ended up finding it was gonna be too much of a hassle. So yeah, I'm not sure if John or Kay have a better idea of how many substantial PUD amendments of this nature we've had.
Yeah, we get insubstantial PUD amendments to make adjustments every couple of years. Substantial PUD amendments, I think the last one was probably in 2019, 2020. Where, and that one might have also been insubstantial. I remember they were transferring population, moving it from one lot to another. That one was insubstantial. So yeah, substantial are rare.
And this is substantial because of the amount of increase that's being asked for?
Yeah, because they are wanting to increase the overall coverage on the lot by more than 3%, triggers that substantial. That IPA PUD amendment that you just heard was a substantial amendment as well, perhaps more substantial than this, but also a substantial amendment.
Okay. Other questions from the commission? Go ahead.
Yeah, is there no setback on the south property line? I see setbacks on 3 sides.
So let me pull up that page. So the south property line is that 20-foot setback to the nearest structure.
But there's no property line setback.
No,
And we measured that today, and I guess I can't ask some questions yet, but
it was 20 foot 9 inches to the house, and about 11 feet to the shed, which shed is technically movable and doesn't require a permit because it's under 200 square feet. So we were discussing and imagining that the building department will probably require some fiber resistant siding on that portion closest to the shed.
right, because that shed is really close to the property line. And therefore, if we have a 20-foot offset to that shed, it's a lot of building. That's the question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Typically, I think our interpretation would be that that 20-foot setback would be to the home. But that may be up for discussion.
Is there precedent, or are we setting precedent with that?
The property owner, through no fault of their own, the previous neighbor, had built that shed closer to the property line than we may have liked. It would have been nice, or they could split the difference, 10 feet, on each side of the property line. But that doesn't appear to be a workable solution in this part. And one option that they would have is to beef up the fire prevention with the building materials on that side. And I think that is something that the building department would entertain.
Sorry, are you saying build up to fireproofing on the shed or on the house?
On the house.
Yeah, the intent of the 20-foot separation between buildings, rather than having setbacks to property lines, was for purposes of fire mitigation.
But the HOA has approved this, right?
They approved the increase in footprint. Technically, I do think that HOA required architectural plans and to see exactly where everything's going, but really what we're approving at this stage is just the increase in the footprint and not the actual design of the house itself. If that makes sense.
Sure, but then the offset is
Obviously.
absolutely relevant.
Isn't the deck on the proposed to be on the back side of the house, and isn't it pretty much a drop off after that?
The deck is proposed to be on the north side of the house.
Ah, okay.
Above the road.
But the back property line aligns with the edge of the Lawson Hill subdivision. Is that correct?
I would say the west property line.
Right.
So the side yard.
And then
Yeah,
it's
west is correct.
Is that the property line of the subdivision?
It is on the very edge, so I suppose so. I think to the left is maybe even Forest Service area going down into the gorge, or just Lawson Hill open space. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, there's no house to the west. That's for sure.
No potential house either.
No,
Okay.
no lot.
This is one of the last vacant lots in Lawson Hill.
Yes.
I think there's like one more after this in the residential area.
Can you speak to a little bit when they first platted everything for Lawson? Why they were so inflexible about the footprint within? I'm just curious, because when we were looking around up there, I mean, there are a lot of these really tall, narrow buildings, and so it's kind of seems like the style was to maybe give as much space between houses as possible, but is there like a more practical reason that they were that limited?
Potentially to conserve open space, but I could not tell you
Okay.
definitively.
All right.
I think there were some concerns, or they were trying to preserve some open space and also wildlife corridors.
I have a question about the driveways and the 2 parking spaces. Will these driveways as presented meet code?
That maybe, I have not seen the driveway designs, so that might be a better question for the applicant, when we get to that.
Okay. We'll do that. All right. Absent any other questions from the commission for staff, let's hear from the applicant.
You guys want to like come on to the show and
Free to bring another chair up.
Hello, I'm Steve White. I'm the person that will hopefully one day be living in this house with my husband Tanner Small and our son Henry. I'm a school counselor at the elementary school, and I'm the school district behavior coordinator here in town. And this is my dad, and he's been building houses my whole life, so he is our guiding force on this project. So I'm going to let him talk about the details today.
Well, I'm not sure where to start. We've been through a long process with the HOA in order to get their approval of the substantial amendment. And we came to a compromise after many meetings, and we had a good site visit today, and I feel like the project is well within the parameters of everything I've read in the land use code, which encourages trying to minimize the scale and the mass of the building and make it blend in with the surrounding neighborhood as well as the natural environment. I think we're determined to do a good job of that. And that was one reason for the ask of the larger footprint, so that we could, instead of having a bunch of smaller rooms on 3 stories, we could open it up a little bit and give them a sense of an open space. And beyond that, I'm open to any questions you have.
All right, thank you, sir. I'll start with one just because I didn't catch it in the record, but I presume that in addition to the approval of the HOA company, that this is, if you've been through a bunch of meetings, you've probably already been through the design review board in Lawson also, right?
Yes.
Have we? I mean,
The
we have,
DRB is who,
we haven't presented the final plans to them yet.
Okay. All right. Any other commissioner questions or staff questions for the applicant?
The same question I asked earlier, will the driveway conform with county code
Yes, both. Well,
in terms of
There is-
steepness, width, 2 access points along the main road? 'Cause it looks like there's a carport and a garage.
right. As far as, is that too many? Is that one too many?
That's-
Is that what you're asking?
Is it too many? Is it going to meet the right slope that is required?
Well, because of the cut in the hillside, the entry into both sides of the house will be flat. There will not be any, because that basement is dug into the hillside.
So you're going to bring the basement level down.
Yeah, the grade is right to where the road is.
And then in terms of the driveway, it looks like on the west end, there's a driveway that has kind of an angled entry there.
Mm-hmm.
So will that be you'll come in and you'll turn in?
Yeah, and that's to be determined a little bit because I need to meet with the road and bridge people on that, because you saw that big ditch that's going out over into the off the side of the cliff. And my proposal would be to culvert that and then cover it, making virtually a bigger cul-de-sac in the process, and also making their entry in a little bit more comfortable, entry and exit
Right.
out of there. It would add at least 12 feet going towards the canyon as usable gravel space. And possibly running that, and this I need to talk to Road and Bridge about, but possibly running the culvert all the way over the edge, so that we could fill in that whole area.
this is not a county road, it's a private Lawson Hill Road. So that'll probably be a conversation with the Lawson
Okay.
Hill, yeah.
But do our driveway standards still apply?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so then
All right, I
that's
see.
taking out more trees.
No, it wouldn't. I wouldn't touch any of those blue spruce trees, the spruce trees along the edge of that ditch.
Okay, I see Fletcher's got his hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Sorry if I missed this detail, but I just want to clarify. Original lots built for a tall, skinny 3-story house. Are you proposing a 2-story wider house, or is it the same height and
It's
just
two-
bigger?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a 2-story house to accomplish the allowed maximum square footage on top of a garage. So the garage will be completely dug in. It'll daylight to the north, but so it will be a 3-story house, but that bottom story will be virtually backfilled, except for the north side. It's the foundation steps down the hill 3 times.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just curious if there's any, balancing of allowable height coming down and footprint widening, or is it just footprint widening?
I didn't understand that. Can you state that again?
Yeah, sorry, and I apologize if microphone's a little tricky with a lawnmower running nearby. I'm just curious to understand if you're bringing the height that would otherwise be constructed down at all as part of this amendment.
Well, yes, because those walls of the basement are backfilled and it's built into the hill. So on the back side, on the south side, the excavation will be close to 9 feet deep. So the grade on the east and west sides will follow that up the hill. So it'll give the impression of a shorter house, even though it's on a full basement garage. I don't know if that helps or not.
I think the question is part of the proposal to reduce the maximum allowable height in acres? And I think the answer to that is no.
Oh, no, that would be my answer.
Okay. So we're still looking at, in Lawson, it's 35 foot from grade height limitation, is that right? Okay,
It's 25 feet.
25 feet.
A little bit more complicated because the building height is measured from the average surrounding grade to the midpoint between the ridge and eave on a gable to the highest point of a shed roof.
Right.
So it's 25 feet plus a little for the roof.
Okay, and those aspects of the actual building permit will be addressed by building or by the DRB or both? Question.
By planning staff and the DRB, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Other commissioner questions for the applicant or staff? And Jocelyn, if anybody's in person wants to speak, you'll have to let me know.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds like we're ready to move on to public comments. And per my usual reminder, please raise your hand if you're online or raise your hand if you're in person. And Jocelyn will call on you and we'll alternate online and in person. You have 3 minutes and I'll give you 30 seconds at the end of that 3 minutes maximum. So I'll give you a warning at 3 minutes. So identify yourself, raise your hand, and off we go.
We have one person in the
I don't know
room.
if you guys might want to would sacrifice your seat to the commenter. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Coors Wright. I live at 602 Society Drive, which shares a property line with the applicants. I also sit on the Lawson Hill Design Review Board, so I'm very familiar with this project and proposals that's going on here. I would say after today's site visit that the neighbors around this project are basically are supportive of what the proposal is. There may be some small concerns here or there, but generally speaking, I think everybody in the neighborhood is okay with what they are proposing, and supportive of the whites moving into the neighborhood. So I think that's kind of short and sweet. Excuse me. I think maybe to your question earlier about why this lot had such a small footprint, I think that this was one of the last lots to be contemplated out there, and they only had so many square feet in the entire thing, and so this is what was left over, and I think that's why that was a little bit out of scope for what's going on. So I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. That was helpful for you to come forward, Corey. Appreciate that. We have a dial-in or a Zoom commentary from an iPhone. Please identify yourself and
Hi,
about
this
it.
is Alex Rollinson. On technical difficulties being on the audio from my computer. My wife and I
Sure.
live at 604 Society Drive, and I'm also speaking on behalf of 606 Society Drive. Thank you to the members of the County Planning Commission that were able to come by for the site visit today. It was super helpful to have everybody there. We'd like to begin by saying we value being good neighbors, and we've not been overly concerned about the construction of a home at lot 314-13 in Elk Meadows. We understand and respect the applicant's desire to build a home to their liking and enjoy their property. However, as this progress has progressed, the scope and scale of the proposed project has continued to expand beyond what was originally contemplated. That evolution has raised several concerns for those living immediately adjacent at 604 and 606 Society Drive. It is our understanding that the applicant requested and was granted an increase to 1,000 square foot footprint while maintaining the 1,500 square foot livable space cap. Additionally, the applicant sought an exception from the deck from 100 square feet to up to 300 square feet. I believe this was clarified at the site walk today that they were approved for that 300 square feet addition. For context, the homeowners at 606 Society Drive requested approval for a larger deck and were denied. Situations such as this create the perception that exceptions are being made and possibly applied inconsistently for this particular lot. While the decks aren't overly concerning for the adjacent property owners, it's just something we did want to point out. As I understand it, the applicant is now requesting an additional exception to construct a 2-story structure rather than the previous approved 3 stories. This specific change does prompt some concerns. Building the home on 2 levels instead of 3 will expand the structure's horizontal mass and footprint. I think we covered this quite well at the site walk today. As the people that were there were, I think, understanding of how tight the space is going down to the 602 to 606 lots there. And speaking with Cappy, it seems like there is some solution to possibly expand the entrance to our driveways when they do their work, given the implied access that we have with all of our property lines. Beyond access and massing concerns, we are also worried about light pollution from 604 and 606 Society Drive in particular. The front of the home will be directly visible from the applicant's windows. Given the natural elevation and orientation of the living spaces, I did speak with Sela and her mom, and also Cappy, her father, just regarding the light shining directly into the neighbor's yards and windows. So they were both, everybody was amenable to that. Again, we just respectfully ask that the applicant be mindful of the lighting design as to minimize the impact on the homes located below. To be clear, our intention is not to prevent our future neighbors from building their home. We simply ask that the project remain consistent with the approvals and parameters that the DRB has already approved. Specifically, the 2- and 3-story design, that was a concern. I feel much more comfortable after the site walk today about this. But did want to bring up the, preserving the roadway function, specifically around the parking spaces. Thank you all for your time and consideration and service to our county community.
All right, Alex, thanks very much. Appreciate that. You did that in exactly 3 minutes. I'm so impressed. Okay, anybody inside?
We don't have any other members of the public in the room.
Don't see anybody at the table. Okay. Banks Brown has his hand up. Did that in exactly 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you guys. Banks Brown speaking. I'm a Lawson Hill homeowner. And I have to say that I disagree with the board of directors
By the table. Okay.
Position of the
Banks Brown has his hand up.
Can you hear me?
Did that in exactly 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you guys. Banks Brown speaking. I'm a Lawson Hill homeowner.
Thanks. Can you mute your?
I have to say that I disagree with the board of directors
By the table. Okay.
position of the.
Sorry.
This is really interesting.
The YouTube must be playing.
Okay, thank you guys. Can you guys hear me okay?
If you could post to YouTube or.
Let me just keep going here. I disagree with the board of directors position of expanding the homeown. I don't like the house. I think
Yeah,
there's a
Banks,
lot of reasons
Banks,
for a smaller home site, which was the
Banks,
road
hold on
out of
just a second.
access.
We're getting a playback from the YouTube on somebody's computer.
Computer, it seems, if he could just mute his computer while he's speaking, seems like something else is playing in the background, so he dropped off.
Yeah, oh, he just dropped off.
Okay. I think we have the gist that he disagrees with the DRB decision.
I completely missed that. Can you elaborate? Did you catch
Well, he didn't get
anything?
any farther than that. But
Disagrees with the DRB decision, so he would not have approved the expanded footprint?
Hopefully if you move on to someone else and
Yeah,
Yeah,
he comes back on.
yeah.
I was just gonna suggest if we should wait to see if Banks tunes back in. We don't want to put words in Banks' mouth about this project. And so I'm hoping we can figure out his technical difficulties and we can.
Yes, indeed. This is a two-step, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if push comes to shove, he'll have an opportunity. If we move this forward, he'll have an opportunity to speak to the Board of County Commissioners. But I was a little confused. Did he say that he's a homeowner in Lawson Hill?
It sounds like it, but let's not
Yes, he is.
speculate. Why don't you take the next public comment and hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's an
Okay.
audience again.
Well, but it's a repeat public comment, so.
I just
I
wanted
think-
to tell you something else about Banks. Comment, if I may.
As a response, I mean, Lee, I think it's up to you. There's a hand in the room from someone who already commented, so I think you should proceed with anyone who hasn't yet spoken. But if it's a response to another public comment, generally we don't entertain public comment response to other public comment.
And we
Oh.
just got in the chat from Annalise, and Annalise, if you could raise your hand and actually speak, that would be better in the chat.
Should we read this message aloud so everyone, these guys can't see what we're seeing?
I'm waiting to see if Annalise raises her hand.
Yeah, Annalise, if you could join us and tell us this on the recording, that'd be helpful.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
There you are. Thanks. Yes.
So just so you
Okay.
understand the process, and I think maybe what Banks was trying to say as a DRB member, the Lawson Hill DRC heard this, and because the board, their process is to have the applicant go to the DRC and get a letter of recommendation, and then the board writes the letter of agency to the planning commission or the planning department. The DRC actually recommended they not give the letter of agency. The applicant then came to the board of directors directly, and the board of directors decided not to take that recommendation from the DRC and to issue the letter of agency to the county anyway.
Oh.
And Banks Brown is the chairman of the DRC at Lawson Hill.
Okay. Okay.
Is anyone from the Lawson Hill Board of Directors able to speak on behalf of the Lawson Hill Board of Directors?
I don't believe, unless Dean is present in the meeting that was at the site walk this morning, he is on both of those boards.
Okay. Well, 20 years of experience doesn't resolve this question. Kay, does the county have a position on who we listen to in a case like this?
Yeah, So for us, the Lossing Hill Properties Company is controlling. The DRB is their sub-board that answers to the Property Owners Company Board. And so if I'm understanding this correctly, the Property Owners Company Board overrode their DRB.
I don't think that's any of our business.
Yeah, that sounds more an internal issue.
I was just gonna suggest to me, if I could, that the letter of approval from the Lawson Hill Board is kind of their statement of approval, right? If they have internal disagreements, that is among them. They can air those publicly to us as they are and can again. But that's kind of where we sit as a body for the planning commission, and I assume we would do the same with the board of commissioners.
Okay, thanks, Jared. And Annalise, thanks for enlightening us as to the process. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and just so you know, like everyone in the room has said, the DRB will yet again see the final plans and approve them or not. So whatever's built will have to go through that board.
Right. Okay, that's helpful information. Thank you.
Lee, I have a question for either you or Kay.
Well, just a second. We're still in public comment, so let's present an opportunity for anyone else who wants to speak.
We have no one in the room.
And no one has raised their hand. Okay, then we will close public comment and move to consideration. Yes, Sally, go ahead.
So we're being asked to approve an increase in square footage and deck space, but is our decision based on this? I guess, is the sketch in front of us binding? We haven't seen any plan set yet, and so could the plan set change?
Yeah, what we're doing is we're giving them maximum numbers to work on.
Right.
We're not approving an actual building.
It is not binding.
So we're giving them an envelope in which to work. And then how they actually, do the design, that's going to be something that they're gonna have to take past the DRC. And then, from then they come and get their building permit and, planning development permit.
So if we approve this expanded footprint and then the building department says X, Y, or Z don't work, you have to change your design. All that we care about is that it's 1,200 feet approved with the offsets approved.
It's working within all of the dimensional limits of the Lawson Hill matrix for this property.
Got it. Thank you.
So we're simply responding to the homeowner's decision to recommend an increase in the allowable square feet, and then it goes back to DRB.
Well, except our sample motion says all written representations of the app. That's a little binding.
But it's only regarding the footprint.
Yeah, and if the design review board says, no, it's got to be adjusted or smaller, then that's what the applicant will have to work out with them. They can't make it exceed what we have, whatever is in our matrix, but they can constrict.
Right. Got it.
And looking at the sample motion, on number 2, where it says 200 square feet of the 1,200 square foot footprint shall be exclusively used for a deck. It's actually 300, correct?
So 200 feet of the expanded 1,200 square footprint. There is a note in the Lawson Hill matrix that states anyone can build a deck or mudroom, anything that's not conditioned, that exceeds 100 square feet of their allotted footprint. So there was basically already caveat in the matrix saying, okay, you have your 612 foot footprint, you can exceed that by 100 square feet for only exclusively for the expansion of a deck. So there's 100 square feet that is basically not involved in this proposal that is in the matrix as allowed to use for a deck.
And
If that makes sense.
You could clarify by adding to that condition saying, in addition to the 100 square foot deck allowance, permitted per, matrix note.
It doesn't even have a number, it's just under general notes.
The matrix general notes.
So does that mean the total square footage will be 1,300, or does that mean they will build 900?
Technically, the footprint, if they used all of their allotment, could be 1,300
You just say that?
with the deck. Well, the thing that we are changing in the matrix is the maximum allowed footprint, and we're changing that from 612 to 1,200. 200 of that as a condition of this approval, and as will be a condition of approval on the development permit, is gonna be 200 square feet, can only be for the deck, but we're trying to represent it in the matrix in the simplest way possible. We really try to avoid adding like extra notes that are only for one property, just to try to stop bogging down the matrix with all these, oh, here's this caveat, somewhere else, having to read through the whole thing for one property, etc.
So I just want to understand that the extra deck square footage is not a concrete foundation, they're just piers off the.
I believe that is their plan, yes.
Sure. Okay, just want to make sure, thank you.
So there was a comment about another deck that was up for approval, that obviously didn't come to us.
Yeah, so I
Got
do
that
think,
information on that.
the public commenter had said it was denied, which is not technically true. We kind of got into the weeds with them, figuring out what the application process would look like. And it has been a while since we have had a substantial PUD amendment of this nature for footprint expansion in Lawson Hill. So after working with them, we realized it's gonna be two-step, and they said that's just too much, to do. And they had some extenuating factors, including a geohazard area. They were trying to build down straight into a gorge. They also had some tighter restraints when it came to that 20 feet separation with their neighbor's house. And I think in the end, after examining all those factors, they kind of weren't going to be able to do exactly what they wanted, and decided that it wasn't going to be worth it to go through the two-step process.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Appreciate that, Nicola. Other comments?
I guess my biggest concern right now is just with respect to like parking, and if you look at the northeast corner of the deck, it looks like it's right on that called out of the earthwork easement. And so I guess I'm just concerned that there's gonna be a concrete pillar in the road where a fire truck needs to get through. But I guess as long as it's inside of that easement, we don't care, right?
So all of the structure will have to be inside, and not encroach on the earthwork easement and not encroach on the roadway in any way. Fire trucks actually going to go down to those additional 3 houses, or they had to do a standpipe and stairs, because they just really can't get apparatus down.
Can they go down to this parking area?
Yes, this is where they would stage up.
That's not true.
Okay, that was my understanding when those were built.
That was the intention, that's not how it was built. Scott Hydrant came out and said, there should be a standpipe here. We are not planning to raise vehicles down, nor the fire hydrant.
That's where the big turnarounds are.
Can we hold that because it wasn't picked up on record?
You wanna repeat that?
What I'm gonna say is where the fire department is going to, would be staging up has all been worked out for the area. And any construction on any individual lot, this one included, can't encroach on any easements, any, shared areas, any of that.
I have more clarification if I can speak.
That's up to Lee. The applicant's asking if they can come back and speak again.
I think he wants to address my question or comment.
Yeah, in the interest of getting the questions or comments answered, sure, let's put them on the record.
Well, it's real simple. On the northeast corner where you were discussing, it's a 3-foot walkway on the deck, and there is no post on that corner. Nothing supporting it's cantilevered out right there for that. I think it's like a 14-foot walkway over to the main body of the deck.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Any further questions or comments by commissioners?
I'll make a motion if you're ready to entertain it.
I think we're at that point. Thanks, Josh.
I move to recommend to the San Miguel County Board of Commissioners to approve a substantial PUD amendment for lot 314-13 Elk Meadows, Lawson Hill PUD to expand their maximum allowable footprint from 612 square feet to 1,200 square feet, based on the finding that the proposed use is consistent with the county master plan and complies with the land use code review standards in section 5-1503, substantial amendment, and 5-1803, rezoning, and subject to the following terms and conditions 1 through 3 as presented.
So moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, that sounded like Ian.
Yes.
All right, moved and seconded. So we'll move to comments and a vote. Ian, you want to go first?
I'll vote aye.
Matt?
Just have some concerns about the slippery slope. I know that this is like the last lot. Get that. But what's stopping anybody from scraping other lots and coming back and making the similar results redevelop? So that's like my concern, is this a big, like it's doubling it. And it works, we were all out there, and on this particular lot, it does seem to work just based on, first of all, 600, that's really low. That's small in the first place. So like that, you're starting from there, so doubling what's already small. I definitely can see the benefit there, or why that's necessary. I can also see the 1,200 here as it's laid out and as it's proposed as being like workable in this exact situation, because it is that drop off. It's the end of the lot. But you know, the only concern is doubling it, and then you know, what if we get a lot more of these in the future? You're going to kind of like change what's already there. So that's I don't really know how to solve that in this particular request. But do you have those concerns before I put a vote out?
I think my response is that it's clear that the oversight boards within the HOA have a tight grip on things, and I don't think they're gonna just open the floodgates for people to start tearing buildings down and building with much larger footprints. And the footprint on site seems so restrictive and kind of overly prescriptive. You know, all we can look at is the case in front of us. So for me, it seems reasonable to make this change in this one case for this one site.
Yeah, Matt, I think my thinking there would be, there are things I would like to see done differently, but I'm not the designer. Like a deck off the west side, not the north side, away from people. But also, this lot is really unique. And even with the deck expansion, they're inside their setbacks. They have an easement that cuts through a quarter of their property. Most of the properties aren't gonna have that same kind of setup. And so for me, considering how much the neighborhood's already encroaching on their lot, to give them the extra deck does not concern me. As opposed to a different neighbor who might be building a deck right up to their neighbor's house and some of those other lots. That's kind of where I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that for like,
For this
for
lot.
just this lot, yeah, no, I mean, I think it fits for just this lot, but just
So the Supreme Court can make decisions where they're like, this does not set precedent. Can we say that? That we just are approving this very unique lot and this very unique circumstance.
Any future lot that would be asking the same thing would go the same two-step process. And at that point in time, you would have the equal opportunity to decide for this lot, does this make sense? And at that point, you could deny, another one that doesn't make sense. Because today you're only thinking about this lot and does it make sense for this lot? And that two-step process doesn't seem like it's going away.
And I guess I'd point out that a future lot that wanted to be adjusted in this way, it's a 4-step process, actually 5, because they got to go to the DRB, and then they have to go to the HOA, and then they have to come to us and the BOCC, and then the DRB again for their final. And Lawson is not known for inactive neighbors. So, Matt, I hear your concern, but I think that the process itself will allow us to, if there are any further applications like this, allow us to consider them on their merits with plenty of gatekeeping around it. So just my thought. So votes. Ian's an aye. Hallie?
Aye.
Joss?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Application approved for moving to approval to the Board of County Commissioners. Thanks very much to the applicant and the public for this item. We'll move on to a briefing from the esteemed Heather Woodland. Bring us up to date.
Good
Hi.
morning. Hi, hello, Planning Commission. I am the GIS Director and Addressing Official. My name is Heather Woodland, and I'm here to give a very brief update on changes to our addressing protocols. The planning and building departments instituted a new permit workflow last year, and we are kind of coming to a synchronicity with that, with the addressing part of the workflow. And so we're going to insert it into a driveway approval so that the address gets assigned when the driveway is inspected and completed. And so we won't be applying for addresses as a separate permit. It'll be part of a development review process. So we've made a few changes to the language in the standards just to conform with that process. Are there any questions about that?
So are addresses being self-applied? Is this the problem that we're solving?
Addresses are, well, that's one issue. Another issue is people get their address and then they don't come in and follow through with a driveway permit. And so we get unauthorized locations and people not building them to the construction standards. And that causes problem with county roads and neighboring properties.
To add, addresses, the numbers themselves, actually have a meaning. They're indicative of the distance from a specific point. And so if somebody comes in, gets their address and puts their driveway in a different spot, the number could be wrong relative to the necessary distance, and that gets tied into 911 and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Yeah, sounds like an important improvement.
The downside though is that somebody, in order to set up their address, has to pay for the engineering and everything of their driveway at that point, right? They can't just start by, I guess, to back up, I've known people who, you know, step by step through the process, they get an address and it might be years before they start doing anything on the property, but it might be important for them for tax purposes or voting records or other things to have that address. So we're basically saying that people have to be ready to move forward.
They have,
The engineering of their driveway at the very least.
driveways might not need engineering depending on the steepness. But yeah, we do need to have some sort of idea of exactly where they're entering the property. Actually, we need to know specifically where they're going to be entering the property. And if they're capable of building a driveway beyond that. We did, you know, right now this week, we're talking with somebody who wants to bring in their well and septic, but their house is a ways out. So they'll be getting a development permit for, and then they're bringing electricity in, and that definitely needs an address. So they'll be getting their well permit, their septic, their driveway permit. They'll be doing their electrical, and for that, we will issue an address. You know, the key part is that they're putting their driveway access in the spot where it's actually going to be.
And just a side note, people cannot register to vote on vacant land. There needs to be a residence.
Okay, that was a bad example, sorry. Don't want to misinform.
Yeah, it does make it a little challenging for people who are trying to phase development. That is true. But the consequences of having an address where there's no house is if there's a fire and they're trying to evacuate the people, they may be wasting time going up empty driveways.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Heather, is this procedure already in place and we're just changing the code to make it fit how you're doing it now?
Yes.
Or is this a change? Okay. All right. And as far as just so I know, as far as a driveway permit is concerned, how engineered is that application? Does it have a marker on it and a width and that kind of thing? Angle? Is that about it?
Within our land use code, we have driveway standards.
Mhm.
Yeah, they specify the width, and some, as you get closer in here, they might have to be asphalt instead of gravel. Most of them are gravel. We have standards for grade, curves, and length. And as they get steeper and longer, that's where the engineering comes in. So this was something that last year, I think, we updated our driveway standards to make it clearer. You may remember that when we were doing the grading and drainage part of the amendment. We were also clarifying when engineering does and does not need to be done. And the code does allow me to waive engineering. And we've had a few where, one fairly recently, where the engineering requirement kicks in at 500 feet. Well, they were at like 510. And it was a fairly flat, straight driveway. So it did not make sense to require engineering on that. And we have flexibility, but we have standards.
Right. But for the purposes of the accuracy of the, I'm not trying to complicate things, Heather, sorry. But for purposes of the accuracy of the house number assignment, we don't need to know how the driveway is engineered. We just need to know where it is. Is that a fair statement?
We need to know where it's been built and completed.
Okay.
Because if it's not built to the standards and they have an address, they may never build it to the standards.
Ah, well, there's that. All right, I got it. Okay. Other question, commissioners? This is not something we have to take action on, right? This is just FYI.
This
No,
is, yes,
this is,
informational
Yeah.
briefing.
Okay.
Yeah, Lee, I was just gonna say, it sounds to me, from what I've heard in past meetings, that it can be hard to enforce code, and this is one very small way that we can enforce driveway code. We can say, you want power, build your driveway to code. That really sounds like what the root of all this is. We can hedge it in safety, we can hedge it in getting the number right on the actual address, but it really, to me, sounds like if you want power, build your driveway to code first.
Right.
So if that's how we want it to go, then this sounds like a reasonable solution to that.
Thanks. Good point.
all right, thank you for your time.
All right, Heather, thank you. Okay. Kay, back to you.
Okay, so the next thing, we need to talk about our schedules through the rest of the, for the next several months. I had asked you guys already, about your availability for Wednesday, March 4th, that's evening meeting, in Norwood, but there is a Zoom option. And Matt, you said, yeah, but it might be Zoom.
Zoom, yeah.
Ian, you said yes. Lee, you said yes. Josh, you will not know for a while.
Yeah.
Hallie, you were probably a no.
Probably, you know, I might be able to zoom in at the end.
And then, Fletcher, being new, I don't know if you're available. But the purpose, you know, we tabled the discussion on the non-conforming lot, so this is the chance to talk with the BOCC.
Is this our only opportunity for that meeting, or are there other options?
I mean, there might be other options later. Because we do also have on Wednesday, March 25th, we want to have, this would be a daytime work session here. They kind of want to put out in Norwood because there was so much interest from Norwood. So, you know, it's been firmly penciled into that date. Is a good description. Okay, and Fletcher says he's available, so it sounds like most of you are available in some way.
And it is a work session, and it will be recorded and available. I think we need to hang on to the March 4 because we've basically raised a flag about any further applications in the affected zone districts, and spring's coming. People are going to want to do work if they have SUPs or not. So I would like to, much as I would like to have everybody there, I think we're okay with going ahead with the work session. And, you know, perhaps if you're not going to be there, let's you and I have a conversation about your concerns or thoughts, and I'll do my best to represent.
And Hallie, you can always come talk to staff too.
Yeah, I mean, after the last meeting, it really felt like we needed input, so more than anything, I want to be there to listen. And if I can listen after the fact, that's fine. I don't have much more to say other than I want to know what is said.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And then March 12th is our regular planning commission meeting. That'll be here, 9 a.m. building code update because we are mandated to update our code for wildfire and for energy. So Matt Gonzalez will be filling you on what's going on with that. And then we had also done a briefing to the BOCC about code enforcement. It was, Lee had asked if we could have something similar. You know, the things that we get into with the board isn't necessarily relevant with you guys, but it definitely does, you know, become a factor in some of the applications that you see. So we can put in a code enforcement discussion as well, just to help you understand the process. And then the next one that I need to know who's available is March 25th. This will be a Wednesday, probably here 9:30. What we need to, we have 2 land use code work sessions that are needed. One is the Affordable Housing Accelerated Review Process, which in order to secure the additional state funding, we need to have that adopted by June 30th. So we wanted to have a discussion on the draft, we'll have the draft out and available for review prior to that. And then I'm working with Tori on the remainder of the natural resources topics. That's oil and gas, logging and geothermal. And as we found out in the last 2, having some work sessions before we get into hearings is helpful. So we are thinking that we would just be going with all 3 at once. We've been over the application materials and the standards pretty thoroughly. So focusing on more of the where permitted and the more general side of it for the 3 topics. So Ian, you already told me that you're not available that day.
Correct.
Anybody else know their schedule for the 25th yet?
I think I'm gonna be traveling. It's maybe possible I could zoom in, but it might be hard.
Okay.
That's a conflict for me too.
I'm available.
I'm available. But only till like 3.
Hopefully we're done.
Yeah.
That's a lot of. How did these meetings go? Do you cap them at a certain point?
Oh, we do it, we often have good intentions to do that, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
I think what Kay is saying is it depends on who's chairing the meeting.
And also what else they may put on that agenda.
Yeah.
Whether in which they do it. It's looking like we're Fletcher, what's your availability for that day, do you know?
Yeah, I wrote that in the chat. I'm gonna be on the road, but possible to zoom in. Don't know exactly where I'll be on that date, but spring break.
So as an alternative to March 25th, and we chose that because that's a usual BOCC work session day. We can't go much later than that. We could maybe go a little earlier or propose a different day. I know, Ian, you're just not here for that.
Yeah, we're starting Monday the 16th.
Yeah.
We could do the weekend, we could do Friday, Thursday afternoon before March 12th.
Yeah.
The 19th?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
March 12th, I was saying, or
Oh.
13th,
Oh, we're at a meeting on the 12th.
so I'm leaving Monday.
Can we add it to the 12th, or is that too much?
I don't think we'll have stuff ready by the 12th.
Yeah.
We want to get, when it's code amendments, we like to get them published a few weeks prior. Get them on our website, let our stakeholders know, and I'd have to have them like within a week to have, I'd have to be reviewing drafts right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not there yet. Okay, we'll regroup and, cause it's, we've only got 2 absolute yeses. And then we've got probably not and no, so.
What's everybody's, who cannot attend the April 2nd regular meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, so April, we need to move it from April 9th. We're suggesting moving it back to April 2nd.
Right.
And that would be in, because April 9th is off season, spring break. And we would have that we would have that April 2nd meeting in Norwood. We have an SUP, it's actually in Specie Mesa, but access from the Norwood side. So, yeah, right now we have that social and scenic uses application. We will probably have a land use amendment for natural medicines to get us prepared in case anybody wants to apply for that. And then if we receive anything in the next couple of weeks, those are on that agenda.
Is it feasible to consider expecting that April meeting to be no more than a half day and adding the joint work session on that day?
We would have to ask the board what their availability is.
You're saying on the 12th?
No, April 2nd.
April 2nd.
Yeah. So Josh, you're saying yes?
To what, April 2nd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second's good.
Fletcher's a yes. Lee's a yes.
Everyone's. Regular.
I hope you're going somewhere good.
Not conformist. There we go.
It's pretty.
9 time zones.
9 times, oh, well.
Italy.
Okay. And then after that, our next meeting will be May 13th, regular meeting here in Telluride. We expect to have the land use code amendment for the Affordable Housing Accelerated Review. We really can't go any later than May on that. Natural resources, I don't know if we'll be ready to schedule at that point. And then any land use applications will be received by late March. So that's where we're at. So I'm gonna go back and rethink the March 25th option and maybe talk to Lance Waring a bit too about his thoughts and ideas and see what we can come up with as alternate dates. For those of you who were saying no and probably no, is it that it's a Wednesday or that week in general, or what are the?
For me, it's that week. That's the week that Forrest has spring break and we have to travel to the East Coast to figure out where he's gonna go to high school next year.
Okay.
So we're gonna be busy.
Okay.
Is it Norwood spring break?
You're saying no, right? Okay, weren't you saying Norwood's spring break is different? It's later?
Yeah, we're not scheduling around the Norwood spring break.
I was just asking, I don't know where this is.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a sense of if it's just that one day that's an issue, or if it's, you know, the whole week, and then as we regroup and think.
It's just a day for me.
Okay. And yeah, Ian, we know that you're not gonna Zoom from Italy.
I don't know, man. Where's your commitment?
It'll be asleep.
You could be at a cafe outside the Uffizi.
I could. How about you?
Yeah, well, it'd be evening in Italy.
You gotta want it, man.
2 a.m. Or no,
They're about eight hours ahead of us.
8 or 9.
Yeah. And Fletcher, you said you were traveling. Let's Fletcher for a moment. So, okay, we'll do some more consideration and thinking about it and see what the VOCC might have available. And
if it falls in that week, I'll do my best.
yeah. I know that, you know, I was looking at this like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of meetings in a very short time.
I mean, even 1 week prior, week of the 16th, does the SEC have anything, or is that too tight?
Well, that's a regular business meeting day. It's not a work session day. So that's usually hard to block off a few hours, several hours.
And they're pretty good with that. They can't fix that up.
They do, but boy, it makes for a tough day.
Now I'm just switching the work session to a regular business day. They can't do that.
More likely, what happens is our work sessions become regular meetings, because they have business they need to do. No, they generally don't convert regular meetings into work sessions.
Well, there's more of us than there are of them.
That's right.
Just kidding.
Yeah, and we're not
Just kidding. We are.
to, Wednesdays, we could, do a Tuesday. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, Fletcher.
Okay, I had. Oh, there's Fletcher.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I had my headphones on, stepped away for a second. I will be on the road also with my niece and nephew for their spring break, but should be able to plan something if, I'd say I'm 90% likely to be able to zoom in if we can plan ahead and structure our road trip accordingly.
Okay. Yeah, we're trying to give everybody plenty of notice.
Yeah,
So,
appreciate that.
okay, well, that's all the direction I need for now, and we'll get back to you. But at least we know that pretty much almost everybody is okay with April 2nd. So at least we can start with our noticing for that one application item that we have.
Right. Okay, a question about the May meeting. Is the effort here to bring the land use code into compliance with the accelerated review process separate from whatever else is going to happen to the community housing zone district? Or are we going to try to get everything done at once? They're separate. Okay.
They are separate. So yeah, this is only the accelerated review process. And then we'll look at code amendments to, zone districts and standards and such, later on, in the, coming months after that.
Okay. Okay. Any other business? Concerns or questions? Then I move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks everybody for your time.
Good trip, Wade.
Hey, Kylie.
Yeah.
Say hi to Tim.
And Fletcher, I'm just down the road from you. I'm actually in Fullerton this week.
Great.
So we can have a meeting in Joshua Tree. I'll see you at the third cactus on the left.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just on the south side of Palm Springs,
Right.
looking up at San Jacinto right now.
Nice. Okay. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for letting me attend remotely. Appreciate Jocelyn, you holding down the fort locally. And we are adjourned.
Well,